Imagine being like 17 years old.
Yeah.
You've just taken one of the most important exams of your life, the Class 12 boards, and your results come back just completely derailed by a computer glitch.
Right. Absolute nightmare scenario for any student.
Exactly. And your first instinct might be to panic or, maybe appeal to your parents. But what if, instead, you requested a meeting with a parliamentary standing committee, walked into a room full of federal lawmakers, and just handed them a 7-page forensic audit?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, an audit detailing the exact flaws in the National Education Board's vendor tendering process. Because incredibly, that is exactly what happened on June 3, 2026.
It's a wild story.
It really is. So welcome to today's deep dive. We are going to take you through an incredibly turbulent stack of sources today. We've got 14 different dispatches spanning from local student protests in India to naval missile strikes in the Gulf.
It is a massive stack of news.
It is. And as we map these out, you are going to see a singular defining theme emerge. We are watching massive entrenched systems from education to global energy, just buckling under unprecedented stress.
Yeah, the structural fatigue is palpable across every single source today.
And more importantly, we are watching the individuals who are deciding to rewrite the rules of engagement to push back.
That's the fascinating part, because traditional authorities, well, they rely on the assumption that the people below them will just accept how the machine operates.
Right.
But the individuals in today's stack aren't just complaining about the machine being broken, they are actively dismantling it to show everyone the faulty wiring.
Which brings us right back to that 17-year-old Sarthak Sidhant from Sharkhand. He stood before a panel chaired by Congress MP Digvijay Singh to expose anomalies in the CBSE's on-screen marking system, or the OSM.
Right, the OSM.
So, to understand the gravity of this, we need to look at what OSM actually is. The board moved away from physical paper grading to a digital system. Basically, answer sheets are scanned and evaluated on screens by teachers.
Which sounds more efficient in theory.
In theory, yeah. But when the software architecture is flawed, or the vendor running it hasn't been properly vetted, you get thousands of students being misgraded.
And what's brilliant here is that Sarthak didn't just point out that his specific grade was wrong. He went after the root cause.
He really did.
He audited the administrative selection process that allowed a subpar vendor to handle the futures of millions of students in the first place.
Yeah.
It fundamentally flips the power dynamic.
Total.
I mean, the education board expects to test the student, but here the student forensically tested the board.
It's basically the equivalent of buying a self-driving car, having it crash into a wall, and instead of just calling customer service, you demand the manufacturer's source code. You want to point out the exact line of faulty programming.
That is a great analogy.
And the impact was immediate, too. Just hours after Sarthak's presentation concluded, the CBSE chairman, Rahul Singh, was transferred.
Which proves that digital transformation, when it's executed without operational transparency, will inevitably trigger grassroots pushback. I mean, the CBSE acknowledged the crisis. They granted students until June 6 to apply for reevaluation.
Right.
But Sarthak's audit is really just the tip of the spear here. There is a broader systemic frustration boiling over among the youth. They are entirely exhausted from bearing the physical and mental brunt of these administrative failures.
Yeah, and we see that massive frustration materializing in Delhi right now.
Yeah.
The prominent activist Sonam Wangchuk just announced he is throwing his full weight behind a youth protest scheduled for June 6. And the organization leading this charge has adopted the most brilliantly ironic name. They call themselves the Cockroach Janta Party, founded by Abhijit Dipke.
Wangchuk was actually quite cautious at first. He openly stated he needed to verify this wasn't some, foreign influence disruption tactic.
Sure, which makes sense.
Yeah. But once he reviewed their data, just the sheer volume of verified grievances regarding the NEET medical exam leaks, the SUET university entrance irregularities, and the CBSE grading fiascos, he recognized it as a genuine patriotic movement.
And they are demanding the immediate resignation of the education minister, Dharmendra Pradhan. The underlying argument Wangchuk is making here is super fascinating to me. He points out that the government constantly markets this vision of a developed India by 2047.
Right, that's the big slogan.
But his point is, you cannot build a 2047 superpower on an education system that cannot even secure a medical exam paper in 2026.
Exactly.
He is arguing that systemic breakdowns of this magnitude require accountability at the absolute top, not just, transferring a board chairman quietly.
And we have to recognize that this systemic failure isn't just causing anxiety over grades, it is creating real physical danger on the ground.
Yeah, that situation in Bihar was terrifying. Late on June 2, unidentified individuals actually opened fire outside the highly popular concert coaching center in Patna.
Just unbelievable.
Thankfully, no one was injured, but it sparked massive panic.
You really have to picture the geography of these coaching hubs in cities like Patna or Kota. They are hyper-congested ecosystems housing tens of thousands of desperate, highly stressed students.
Yeah, it's a pressure cooker.
And when administrative systems fail to provide adequate local security, or when that competitive pressure cooker spills over into local rivalries, the students are literally caught in the crossfire.
So if the youth are aggressively seizing public attention to demand structural accountability, well, the established political class seems to be engaged in a desperate battle just to hold on to their traditional spaces.
Yeah, they are grappling with a radically shifting reality, and the public optics are brutal.
The currency of political influence is space, right? Who can command it, who can fill it, and who gets evicted from it. And our dispatches today show several political titans just losing their grip on that currency.
So let's analyze the situation in Kolkata. Mamata Banerjee held a rally at the Escalade White Channel this Tuesday following her severe electoral defeat on May 4th.
And the imagery there is just staggering.
It really is. She was denied permission by the police to hold the event at her usual prominent location, Rani Rashmoni Avenue.
Wow.
They forbade a stage. They forbade microphones. She ended up speaking under a cramped bus stop shed using a handheld megaphone to a crowd of barely 500 to 700 people.
Wait, 500 people? For a leader of her stature, that is abysmal.
And reports indicate a significant portion of that crowd were simply journalists and deployed police personnel. Only about 14 of her MLAs and MPs were even present.
I do want to examine the mechanics of this, though, because if the police actively deny you a venue, ban your sound equipment, and restrict movement, couldn't this simply be a case of a strict state apparatus doing its job to suppress a gathering?
That's a fair question.
Right, rather than a definitive symbol that her political empire's collapsed.
Well, the logistics absolutely played a restricting role, but you have to remember, in Indian politics, the ability to bend those logistics to your will is the very definition of power.
I see.
For years, Mamata Banerjee's gravitational pull was so strong that police forces and city infrastructure naturally accommodated her massive rallies.
They made way for her.
Exactly. So the fact that the police, a force she previously commanded, felt emboldened to restrict her to a bus stop, and the fact that her usual star-studded cultural fraternity chose not to show up and brave those restrictions.
It sends a massive signal.
It signals to allies and rivals that the fear and awe she once commanded has basically evaporated.
And the BJP capitalized on that immediately, mocking the turnout and claiming the public had brought them down to the streets. Mamata used her megaphone time to allege that the BJP rigged 177 assembly seats, but honestly, the visual damage was done.
The visual of the bus stop is hard to erase.
And this loss of gravitational pull perfectly explains the absolute scramble happening within the NDA bloc right now. They've scheduled a June 8 meeting in Delhi to project unity, but the internal mechanics of this alliance are just seizing up.
The alliance is facing a crisis of utility. I mean, the DMK recently severed its ties with the Congress Party in Tamil Nadu. We even have DMK MP Kanimoji officially requesting separate Lok Sabha seating away from Congress members.
That is so telling.
When a coalition partner doesn't even want to be seen sharing a geographic bench with you in Parliament, projecting a united front among 17 opposition parties becomes an incredibly fragile exercise.
Now, contrast that loud public scrambling with how former Tamil Nadu BJP President K. Annamalai is playing his hand. Following the BJP's electoral underperformance in the state, he met with Home Minister Amit Shah in Delhi.
Right.
But he isn't demanding a stage. He is strategically identifying himself merely as an ordinary Karyakarta, just a grassroots worker. He presented his post-election assessment and is sitting in total silence, waiting for the party leadership to dictate his future.
It is a masterclass in strategic patience.
Isn't it?
Annamalai understands that in a volatile political climate, demanding entitlement is the fastest way to get punished. And you see the exact opposite strategy playing out in Bihar, where entitlement is currently the central battleground.
Oh, the bungalow fight.
No.
Chief Minister Samrat Chaudhry has launched this highly public campaign to evict former Chief Minister Rabri Devi from her government bungalow at 10 Circular Road.
Yeah.
He's declaring she must vacate at any cost, pointing out the absurdity of a political family treating state property like a monarchy, where multiple family members demand separate massive estates.
And Chaudhry is heavily leaning into the optics of public service here. He purposefully refers to his own official residence as Lok Savak Awas, the residence of a public servant, to draw a sharp contrast with the RJD's perceived entitlement.
Though to maintain full neutrality here, we should mention the RJD is counterattacked by claiming Chaudhry's residence is actually larger than the Prime Minister's.
Right. The political mudslinging goes both ways. But the core narrative remains. Whether it's Mamata Banerjee losing her sprawling rally ground, Kanamozi demanding a different seat in parliament, or a bitter fight over a bungalow in Bihar, political entitlement to space is being aggressively challenged.
The electorate and the systems themselves are just no longer granting lifetime leases on power.
And when political leaders are entirely consumed by these optics and territorial battles, the actual machinery of governance stalls. Which brings us to the most vital fail-safe in any democracy.
The courts.
Exactly. When administrators fail to do their jobs and politicians are too distracted to care, the citizen turns to the judiciary to force compliance.
And we have two profound legal rulings in today's stack that perfectly illustrate this mechanism. Let's start with the Allahabad High Court, where Justice Kshitij Shailendra had to drag a deputy inspector of schools at DOs into court for a contempt warning.
This case is wild.
It centers around a citizen, Radhe Shyam Yadav, who was legally owed his salary. In April 2022, the court explicitly ordered the DOs to pay him. And the administration just ignored it for 4 entire years.
The DOs actually attempted to argue that an application regarding the matter was still pending at the administrative level. The judge absolutely dismantled that excuse.
I mean, to put this in perspective, a high court judge is likely managing a daily docket of 400 to 800 cases. The judicial system is already buckling under the sheer volume of litigation.
Right.
So if a judge takes the time to issue a binding ruling and a mid-level administrator decides to treat that ruling as an optional suggestion, it doesn't just hurt the citizen. It actively paralyzes the entire justice system. It forces courts to spend precious hours relitigating cases they already solved 4 years ago.
It's like leaving a legally binding text message on red for 4 years. Justice Shailendra stated it explicitly. Permitting this kind of open defiance destroys constitutional governance and leads to anarchy. A judicial order is not an advisory opinion. It carries the full coercive mandate of the Constitution. The court had to threaten the administrator with contempt just to force the machine to execute a basic payroll function.
And while the Allahabad High Court was using its power to force basic administrative compliance, the Supreme Court was using its power to rewrite deeply flawed social programming. Which brings us to the Kulsum Nisha case out of Amithi.
Right. This revolves around the concept of compassionate allotment. For context, the government runs a public distribution system where subsidized food and essentials are sold through fair price shops. When the owner of one of these shops passes away, the government allows for a compassionate allotment, essentially transferring the license to a dependent family member so they don't lose their livelihood.
So Kulsum Nisha applied for this exact transfer after her mother died, but the local government rejected her application outright. And they didn't reject it because she was unqualified. They rejected it entirely because she is a married daughter.
Yeah, the bureaucratic manual defined family in a way that assumed the moment a daughter gets a marriage certificate, she ceases to be dependent on, or a part of, her parental family.
Wait, really? That's how it was written?
That was the actual rule, but the Supreme Court struck this down as an unconstitutional gender stereotype. The mechanism of the court's reasoning here is brilliant. They pointed out that policy cannot rely on archaic assumptions.
Right, because in contemporary reality, countless married daughters continue to live with, care for, and financially depend upon their parents.
Exactly. And the court highlighted the absolute hypocrisy of the rule, noting that a married son might be entirely independent and living elsewhere, yet the system automatically assumes he is a valid dependent.
While automatically disqualifying the daughter.
Yes. So by striking down this exclusion under the Essential Commodities Order, the Supreme Court didn't just give Kulsum her shop, they forced the administrative state to update its software regarding gender and family dynamics.
It is a remarkable backstop. I mean, in both of these legal dispatches, the individual is facing an immovable, uncaring bureaucracy. And in both cases, the constitutional authority of the court is the only leverage powerful enough to tip the scales back toward the citizen.
So we have explored how individuals and courts define and defend their legal boundaries domestically. But when we transition to how a nation defends its physical and economic boundaries on the global stage, well, the rulebook gets infinitely more complicated.
Oh, geopolitics. It's where all of these systemic pressures, governance, defense, economics, just violently intersect.
We really do.
We see India drawing a very hard, uncompromising sovereign line with Nepal today. Nepal's Prime Minister, Balendra Shah, recently suggested that China and the UK should be brought in to help resolve the boundary dispute over the Lipulekh, Lipiadara, and Kalapani regions.
And his logic was that since the dispute originates from treaties signed during British India, the UK has a historical role to play.
But India's External Affairs Ministry immediately shut that door. They reiterated that this is strictly a bilateral issue between India and Nepal, and any third-party intervention is a violation of diplomatic norms.
And India backs up that diplomatic firmness with tangible military capability. The DRDO and the Indian Air Force just successfully test-fired the indigenous Rudram II air-to-surface missile.
That's a huge deal.
It is. This is a highly advanced precision strike weapon launched from an airborne platform designed to neutralize enemy radar and communication sites. The defense minister championed this as a monumental leap for Atmanirbhar, or absolute self-reliance in defense.
Building your own precision missiles allows a nation to project hard power. It means your borders are secure because you don't have to ask another country for permission or spare parts to defend yourself.
But this introduces a massive strategic paradox.
Right.
I mean, India can build all the Rudram II missiles at once. We can tell Nepal firmly to keep third parties out of our border disputes. But an army marches on its stomach, and a modern economy runs on oil.
Yeah, you can't fuel a nation on just defense rhetoric.
Exactly. We are celebrating defense self-reliance on one hand, but on the other hand, we are watching Venezuela's interim president, Delcy Rodriguez, land in India for urgent talks. Why? Because our energy security is entirely tethered to a geopolitical whiplash halfway across the globe.
This is the critical difference between hard military power and soft economic vulnerability. India has 1.4 billion people. Keeping the lights on and the supply chains moving requires immense amounts of imported energy.
And the mechanics of that energy chain are currently a total nightmare. Delcy Rodriguez assumed charge after a U.S. operation removed Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela. Suddenly, India has pivoted to become the second largest importer of Venezuelan oil, pulling in 427,000 barrels a day.
Wait, why'd the sudden pivot to South America?
Because the U.S. waiver that legally allowed India to purchase Russian oil without facing sanctions is expiring on June 17.
Oh, wow. So we are racing against the sanctions clock.
Exactly. And we can't easily pivot to the Middle East because that entire region is currently stalling on an April 8 ceasefire and teetering on the edge of a wider conflict.
Right. Our dispatches report the U.S. military intercepting multiple Iranian ballistic missiles and drones targeting Kuwait, Bahrain, and civilian vessels in the Gulf.
It's incredibly volatile.
The U.S. has actively struck an Iranian ground control station on Qasem Island in the Strait of Hormuz, which is a massive global oil choke point. So while we celebrate self-reliance in aerospace engineering, our actual foreign policy is being actively dictated by expiring waivers in Washington, missile strikes in Tehran, and regime changes in Caracas.
It perfectly illustrates that absolute sovereignty in a heavily globalized, energy-dependent world is largely an illusion. A nation has to constantly bend its rules, delay its treaties, and compromise its alliances just to ensure the oil keeps flowing.
Which is why our final dispatch today offers such a profound contrast. After wading through this messy, opaque, and highly compromised geopolitical chessboard, we actually get to look at the elegant, pure accountability of an actual 64-square chessboard.
Ah, yes. The Norway Chess 2026 tournament. Round 7 just concluded, and the new generation of Indian prodigies is demonstrating phenomenal resilience.
Our Pragnananda defeated the incredibly formidable Alireza Firouzja in 51 classical moves, converting a superior position with the white pieces into a clawless victory.
Incredible play.
But the real drama came in the tiebreaks. World champion D. Gukesh missed a clear winning chance in his classical game against tournament leader Wesley. But managed to defeat him in the Armageddon tiebreak. Divya Deshmukh achieved the exact same feat, defeating Koneru Humpy in Armageddon.
So for those unfamiliar with the mechanics of Armageddon, it is the ultimate pressure cooker designed to force a decisive outcome.
It's so intense.
White is given more time on the clock, say 10 minutes, while black is given less time, maybe 7 minutes. However, the crucial catch is that if the game ends in a draw, black is declared the winner.
Wow.
So white is forced to attack relentlessly to win, while black must defend perfectly under severe time pressure.
And this is what I find so compelling about these victories.
Yeah.
In politics, administrators hide behind pending applications. In global energy markets, superpowers hide behind sanctions and proxy militias.
Right.
But sitting at that board in an Armageddon tiebreak, there is nowhere to hide. Both players see the exact same pieces. The rules apply equally. You cannot blame a vendor, you cannot blame the police for denying your venue, and you cannot ask an ally to intervene. It is an arena of pure, unadulterated accountability.
And that requires a level of psychological endurance that is staggering. Pragnanantha, Gukesh, and Divya are constantly navigating these high-stakes middle games where one micro-inaccuracy loses the match. Yet they don't break under the pressure. They simply calculate the next necessary move and convert that pressure into a win.
Which brings us full circle through today's deep dive.
It really does.
We started by watching a 17-year-old student forensically dismantle a broken national exam system. We saw the highest courts in the land forcing administrators to pay salaries and rewriting archaic definitions of family to protect a daughter's livelihood. We watched veteran political titans struggling to maintain their physical space, and global superpowers firing missiles to control energy choke points.
Every single dispatch today highlighted a traditional, massive system struggling to maintain its grip. The gatekeepers, whether they are exam boards, political dynasties, or global alliances, are stumbling.
And when those systems stumble, the power doesn't just evaporate. It shifts downward. It shifts to the individual who refuses to look away.
Exactly.
Whether it is Sarthak Sidhant confidently handing a 7-page audit to a member of parliament, or Kulsum Nisha refusing to accept a bureaucratic rejection and fighting all the way to the Supreme Court, or a young chess prodigy staring down a veteran under extreme time pressure. Well, we're watching individuals realize they have unprecedented leverage to rewrite the rules.
The machine might be malfunctioning, but the individuals are learning how to re-engineer it.
We want to leave you with a final thought to ponder as you step back into your own daily routines. Based on everything we've uncovered in these dispatches about systems failing and individuals stepping up, what traditional bureaucratic system in your own life is currently ripe for a 17-year-old's forensic audit?
A phenomenal question to leave on.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the information around you, and we'll see you next time.